And I'd like to ask Anthony Willroth to please come up to the podium.
All right, how's it going? I'm Anthony Willroth. I own the Basement Reef, a business downtown located in the First Ward. And tonight I've signed up to give public comments. Last time I said a lot of times I don't like when you have to put a title on these comments, but ahead of time, but sometimes I do because it makes for a pretty nice thesis for what I'm going to talk about. So the title of my comments today are Social Equity as a Pillar of Governance and Columbia's Failure of Imagination. So a little bit of background on this. A friend sent me an article, and the title of this article is Social Equity is a Pillar of Public Administration. Pretty simply titled, and it's by James Zavara of University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and James Brunet of North Carolina State University. After this meeting tonight, I'm going to email this to all of you guys. It's an 8-page article, but it's really good stuff, and I think that anybody who is working in public service has something they could learn from it. And so this article is actually a response to an article calling out their thesis that social equity is a meaningful pillar of governance. And the person who criticized their article challenged them to come up with a better definition of social equity as it relates specifically to governance. And I immediately was like, okay, this rings a bell. Just last month, I believe, Columbia did a similar exercise where city staff came up with a definition of equity. So I was thinking we could maybe compare what ultimately these two gentlemen came up with to what Columbia came up with. And just a quick note about one of the authors, James Zavara. He's the author of a book titled A Survey of America's City Councils, Continuity and Change. He's a professor of public administration. Essentially, he studies what everybody in this room does. He studies that for a living. I think that he has an expertise that we could all do to look to. So I forgot to take a screenshot of Columbia's definition of equity, but it was something along the lines of equal or fair and impartial treatment of everyone, or something along those lines. It was very short, but what these two gentlemen came up with is the fair, just, equitable management of all institutions serving the public directly or by contract, and the fair, just, and equitable distribution of public services and implementation of public policy, and the commitment to promote fairness, justice, and equity in the formation of public policy. I think that's a really nice little definition there because it attacks it from a number of angles and shows that it's not just one thing. It doesn't just need to be there in the policy, it needs to be there in the people that you're seeking contracts with, top to bottom. You need to have that equity in mind when you're applying it to government. They also had a really nice quote in the beginning of it where he said, without an awareness of and concern for social equity, administrators might simply follow the letter of the law or fail to question whether the law should be changed. That rings a bell for me here in Columbia, too, because that feels like an awful lot of what is happening here. Big ideas will get proposed and they immediately get shot down because, the law doesn't allow it. Well, the law can be changed. There's citizen-led initiatives to do that, but there's also ways that, as a body, the council can get things on the ballot. So I would like to challenge all of our leadership in the city to address things down to the charter level and look at, are there ways that our law as it is written is holding us back from equitable outcomes? Because if we're stuck within the confines of something that's inherently inequitable, we're never going to reach equitable outcomes. This is a comment from another community member someone made on one of Pat Fowler's Facebook posts on her campaign page. And I just thought it was a really nice little quote. I'm not going to put a name to it because he didn't sign up to talk here, I did. But it said, the status quo of we have always done it that way or we have never done it that way is not a reason for not trying something different. Again, I think that's a really good quote, and I think that it's indicative of a lot of what holds back progress here in Columbia. We're facing some crazy things with the pandemic just having happened, a labor market that's unlike anything that has been around for the last couple of decades. We're short tons of city staff positions. And I think that while it's a challenge, it's an opportunity to meet that challenge with creative solutions. Very likely we're never going to reach the full number of staff in the city that we always did before. So why not look for some creative ways to attract talented people and actually listen to their novel solutions when they bring them to you? And I think that's how we become an exceptional community. Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. I'd like to ask Susan Renee Carter to please come up to the podium.